Up next, we're going to veer away from vinyls, cassettes, and CDs and look at VHS, DVDs, and Blu-rays, specifically CCM concert videos, where I'm going to share 3 of my favorites right here on Andrew's Journey in Christian Contemporary Music. Welcome to Andrew's Journey in Christian Contemporary Music, where we dive into the classics, discover what's new, and demonstrate the originals. If you're into all things Christian contemporary music, hit that subscribe button. What are you waiting for? And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Climb aboard. Let's do the CCM journey together. And don't forget that I have Spotify playlists called Dive into the Classics, Discover What's New, and Andrew Krelka's Originals that you can check out. I've provided the links for each of these playlists in the description below. I got the idea for this episode from way back in my second episode, which was my favorite CCM albums by decade. In that, and if you haven't seen it, you can go back and watch it. When I got to the first decade of the 2000s, I talked about my favorite CD from that decade, Brian Dirkson's Today, and I told a little story about watching the DVD that I also had of it. So it's this guy right here. And after I edited down that video, I thought it'd be a good idea to maybe do an episode on DVDs and videos, concert videos that I have. I'm not going to talk about this one since I kind of went into it a fair bit on episode 2, and you can go back and watch that. I thought I'm going to look over my concert videos and discuss my 3 favorites, or 3 of my favorites. These aren't in any particular order, although I'm going to introduce them in alphabetic by last name of the artist. So these are 3 that, I could just go back to every once in a while and enjoy it just as much as the first time that I watched them. And so, and then in the comments below, share yours with me. Maybe you've got some that I'm not even aware of, that I don't even have in my collection. But these are 3 of my favorites, and they're all a little different. So let's get started. So the first artist may not be known to as many people around the world as would be here in my homeland of Canada, although he has performed in the U.S. and many other countries around the world. He's been going at it as a solo artist for well over 30 years, has, I think, over 20 albums to his credit, and he put out a great concert DVD at the end of a tour that he did with a band that he brought together to help just put some juice into that music of his, which was already so good. And it was a great night of music, and I just love listening to this every once in a while again. And the artist is Steve Bell, and this is Steve Bell Band in concert. So again, it was a tour he did with he got together with the Marsh Brothers, not the Marx Brothers, the Marsh Brothers, Hugh and Fergus Marsh. Fergus Marsh, pretty well known. He plays bass, but plays the Chapman stick, and has played for people like Mark Hurd, who have done a video on here before. He's played pretty extensively in the past with Bruce Cockburn as well, another great Canadian artist legend. And then drummer Greg Black, Hugh Marsh, Fergus's brother, plays the electric violin. And the stuff on here is just great. Steve, he's kind of got that folk vibe, but very unique voice, great songwriter, and the music on this particular one, it's a good blend. It's got some stuff on there that's a little bit, more bluesy, a little bit more almost in some cases a little progressive in nature. Some of it is very haunting, and Steve's voice is just, it may not be for everybody. I particularly love his voice, and it's just great having those band members together. I did find this particular concert on YouTube. I don't know how easy it is to get a hold of this DVD anymore, but definitely check out the whoever posted. I think actually his private record label Signpost put it out, so you can check it out on YouTube, and it's just great. I've got a couple of his CDs as well, but yeah, like I said, maybe not very well known around the world to a lot of people, but here in Canada, he's big, pretty big. He's won 3 Juno Awards, which is Canada's equivalent to the American Grammy Awards. He's won Covenant Awards, which is the Canadian equivalent of the Dove Awards in the United States. And yeah, so definitely check him out. It's worth a listen. That is Steve Bell Band in concert. The next one you may be more familiar with if you've been around CCM for a long time, because this guy sure has been well over 50 years. I think he's got about 50 albums to his credit, and he has played on other artists' albums, probably way too many to mention. And I'm talking about the legendary Phil Keaggy and his Philly Live in concert in Philadelphia. One of the things that was special about this concert is it took place shortly after 9/11 in 2001, September 11, and it's just great. If you know, Phil has played with bands. Of course, he was with Glass Harp back in the day and has had many reunions with them. But this is a concert of just him with his Jamman looping machine. And I've seen him once in concert do a whole show similar to this one. So it's great to have this, even though the song list isn't the same as when I saw him. There are some songs that he's done in both. It's just great to have. It's a great show. And also the special features on this are great too. There's some funny moments. If you know Phil, you know he's great friends and has done material with Randy Stonehill, and if you know Randy Stonehill, you know he is hilarious. And so there's a segment with the two of them, and other stories and time in Phil's studio. So some real good bonus stuff as well. But the concert is great, and it came at a real timely time, really, as you know, America was reeling from September 11, 2001. Great show, love it, and yeah, can listen to it at any time. I mean, Phil's great. He's often been called the greatest guitar player ever in CCM, that kind of thing. He, of course, would shy away from that. He's just a very humble guy, great person. And yeah, so that's my second one. Now, for my third one, a little bit different, but another, well, at least in this part, on this show, his solo act, so to speak. So, I'll go back a little bit. So, I was brought up listening before I became a believer, to lots of different kinds of music, not the least of which was progressive rock back in the 70s. My dad had, Pink Floyd and Jethro Tull and and bands like that in his collection. As I became a teenager, I became a big fan of Yes, and I started playing bass, and Chris Squire was one of my heroes, the bass player from Yes. And shortly after he passed away a number of years ago, I went back and listened to some old Yes stuff for good times. I was pretty sad about that because, he was always such a great player, and I looked up to him as a bass player. And then after I listened to some of that, I remembered reading a blog and hearing about this guy who's a Christian who plays primarily prog rock music. And so I went and checked them out. I had checked them out before, but the song or two that I listened to, I wasn't really into at the time. So I decided to go back and listen to this guy again. And I went on YouTube and I found this whole concert and watched it, and I just was blown away by him and the performances by the others. Eventually went and bought the concert on DVD and also with the CDs. And of course, who I'm talking about is Neil Morse, and this is the live Momentum tour. So this was my official introduction to Neil Morse, this particular concert. And this was unique in that he put out a call for auditions for people to audition to complement himself, Randy George, his bass player, and Mike Portnoy, his drummer, who of course is the former drummer of Dream Theater and has been in many other bands and different settings. And so they got these other three guys through that call out for auditions. And so Bill Hubauer on keyboards, plays saxophone and violin as well. Eric Gillette on guitars and vocals and keyboards, and Adson Soadre on lead guitars and vocals as well. And, it's always kind of a scary thing, putting an audition out there like that. But I mean, these guys, along with the core three of Neil, Mike, and Randy, just kill it. I mean, this is a long concert. It's like 2 DVDs long. If you know Neil Morse, progressive rock, a lot of long pieces. And this was my introduction to this guy. And I went back and listened to it again recently. Still love it. And then this actually ended up being the precursor, minus Adson Soadre, to what became the Neil Morse Band, which is still putting out stuff and doing tours. So the 5 of them, Neil and Mike and Randy, and then Bill Hubauer and Eric Gillette. And, I've bought most of their stuff that they've put out since. And so, yeah, there's just some great stuff here. I mean, he's done concept albums, and there are excerpts from some of those concept albums on here. And just a great show. And again, yeah, just watched much of his stuff. Just really got me into progressive rock music once again. So those are the 3 that I picked out of my pile of concert DVDs and so on. And thought, yeah, these would probably rank up there. Although my Brian Dirksen one is still a favorite of mine too. But like I said, if you want to check out a little more on that one, you can go back to episode 2, and which was my favorite CCM albums by decade, and check that out. And that's it. Again, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know, what are some of your favorite concert DVDs in Christian contemporary music? Let me know in the comments. And if there are any that I'm not aware of or don't have, I'll check them out and for myself. And that's it. Have a great rest of your day, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And we'll see you next time on Andrew's Journey in Christian Contemporary Music. God bless, and bye for now.